record. All right, we are officially recording.
Yay!
So, welcome to the No More Show. Today we have my amazing Caryssa on, who is the founder of Golden Love, and she's just incredible. And her and I have known each other for 8 years.
Yeah, since like 2012, I think.
Yeah, it's been a while. I thought it was 25, 26 when I met you. I'm telling everybody my age right now. And gosh, this girl and I used to run amok around LA and do some of the craziest things and meet some of the craziest people. We even partied once in the Iron Man house. That didn't happen yet. We did. Yeah, we did. What's that?
I said that was a beautiful home. I really liked it.
Gorgeous, 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 gorgeous. So her and I just so happened to kind of detour our lives, and we went on this hunt of our own paths of spirituality and healthy life and just really calling in our highest expression. So I've asked her to be on today to talk about what she's done to make her life so amazing. So Caryssa, please tell us a little bit about you, what you're doing, where you're going, and anything you feel called in that moment.
Okay. Well, I am Caryssa Ramirez. I've been in Los Angeles now for I think it'll be 9 years almost in just the end of January. My journey has been a long one, but a good one. So I'll tell you a little bit about where I am right now. I started my own company a couple of years ago. It's called Gold in Love. That was actually named after a poem that I had written a while ago, and I just loved the title so much. I was like, why don't I just have that as my company name, right? So I do energy healing. I teach meditation. I do a number of things like past life experiences, all of that kind of stuff. I read cards as well. We've had a few sessions together.
So good. Like mind-blowing good. Just shakes you out. It's really good. You guys have to try it out.
I'm also clairsentient. I'm a clairsentient, clairvoyant energy healer. So what that means is with clairsentience, I'm able to feel my clients' energy within my body, which is something that, you really learn to work with every day, because sometimes you'll get hit with, some anxiety or feelings, and you're like, where is this coming from? And, you find out like, oh, it's from the group of people I'm teaching a class later, right? But all in all, it's really helped me on my journey and definitely in expanding my company. My journey has been a long one and a great one. I think it really all started when I moved down to Los Angeles. I went through a really big breakup when I was 19. Prior to that, I had no idea that I experienced, anxiety and depression with waves. I mean, anxiety on the daily, but it's kind of like gravity, where when something is always there, you don't notice it, right? Until it becomes overwhelming. We don't notice gravity, but if somebody were to increase it 10, 20%, we would definitely feel the weight on our shoulders. Same thing with when it lifts. Right. So, went through a massive breakup, got a huge wave of anxiety, depression, all that kind of stuff. And, I ended up going to therapy, talk therapy. And that was my kind of like first delve into, self-awareness. And, a couple of years after that is when we met. And so even just being in that spot where I felt, enough of myself to be running around, Los Angeles, and just feeling like I was beautiful or good enough to do any of these kinds of things was just a huge step for me. And so over the years, as I evolved and my life evolved, so did my journey and my spiritual journey. When I was 22, I began meditating, and that was kind of taking that therapeutic story into my own hands, right? And learning how to be my own therapist, learning how to move through the toxicity that had not just come into my life, but that had kind of always been there, and to become aware of it. And so I would attribute a big part of my journey to meditation, to yoga, and that's what really led me to start my company, is because I experienced the entire gamut when it came to, you know, self-worth, you know, emotions, things like that. It felt like I had been taken from this really dark hole that I didn't even know I was in, to this much lighter place where I really feel it physically, mentally, emotionally, and also in the area around you. Like, for instance, now I'm, you know, living on my own in LA, and if you would have asked me, you know, when I was a teenager, do you think that would ever happen? I would say no way. I would be absolutely terrified to live by myself, right? But because of the work that I've done, I've gotten to a place where now these things are comforting for me, right? And really possible. So yeah, it's just a little peek into my journey. And
I really like how you talk about the gravity aspect. So when I speak about moving to the healthy world, when I started changing the foods, it was such a small step at a time. Like I just slowly started feeling better. And it wasn't until I would get that bad food back into my diet. Like, so for me, it's, you know, like I get really inflamed from gluten. And so if I would get it back in, it was like my whole world would bomb out. And I forgot. Like, it's such a small way when we're elevating our lives until we crash again that we remember being in that place and how far that place is from where we get to, because we expand in little baby steps and we move up in little baby steps. So it's a really great analogy into talking about that pressure and that depression and how it's speaking to you. Sometimes you just don't even notice that familiar, comfortable, it's not good.
Yeah. A couple of things on that. First off, you know, something that I really, really want people to know and to understand and feel and to accept is that this journey, and not even just calling it a spiritual journey, but it's just a journey to yourself, the truth of yourself. You know, you've probably seen those memes on Instagram where they're like, what people perceive your journey as, right? Yeah. And it's like unicorns and rainbows, and you're like, magic, right? And then what it actually is like, you know, you're feeling the depths of all of these feelings, all these emotions, all of these things that have been in your life, and, you know, constantly asking yourself, holy crap, what am I doing? Am I crazy? Oh my God, I do feel amazing. And then going in, and so it's with this journey, it's not just going to be straight up, but it's rather kind of like peaks and valleys.
Yeah.
Moving up on the graph. Absolutely. Right? Not just like this J curve that takes you straight up to the heavenly realms.
Wish it was, wasn't it? It'd be so great.
Yeah. You know, but with that, it's kind of like, it feels a little better to understand that, you know, sometimes you're going to be taken up, and that it's okay to dip back down, right? Because sometimes we have to be reintroduced to these things that didn't make us feel good. So we really feel the depths of how they were making us feel.
Absolutely.
Right? So I love how you talked about food as well, because that was something that I never even had the intention of doing it, but it's something that evolved within myself as I started letting go of these, you know, deep-seated, like, unpleasant emotions or thought patterns I was holding on to. My body started rejecting denser food, if you will, right? So, you know, when I was younger, my favorite food was steak. I was like, heck yeah, like, let's do this. I'm like 5, and I just, like, love a good steak, right? but as I went on, I started noticing that these foods actually were hurting my stomach, right? Not just like, oh, this is hurting me. It was like, I was physically like, oh my gosh, like I can't digest this right now. But with that, I would go through these peaks and valleys. Like you were saying, sometimes it's like you return to gluten and you're like, oh, this is definitely, screwing me up. And
we used to live that way.
Yeah.
I mean, that pain, that discomfort was always a part of my life before removing it. I just became used to living at such a low vibration and thought that was it to accepting it. So we really, wherever you're at, you can go so much further.
Yeah. Not just with foods, it's also, with relationships and all of those kind of like dynamics that we bring into our lives, and when you're going on this journey of really beginning to understand yourself and see your life for what it really is, you'll start to notice that your relationships, especially the ones that have been there for a long time, really begin to change. Something that, I've noticed along the way is that these dynamics, they're not just like singular between like you and a person or you and food. It fractals out into your life. And so just a little thing on fractals, it's a pattern that is repeated infinitely larger and infinitely smaller, right? And it's actually that our universe, our world, the earth, it works on fractal patterns. And that's also true for our consciousness as well. So when you start to become aware of these kind of like dynamics, that comforting, melancholic feeling that you wouldn't say if somebody asked you, do you like being depressed? You'd be like, no. There's a comforting thing about that dynamic, even though it's unpleasant. It becomes something that's like very familiar, right? But when you start noticing and really feeling it, it'll kind of like, you'll become aware of it in a certain place,
so
maybe in a certain relationship, and start to see how that feeling is not only there, but it spreads out throughout your life.
Absolutely. It's really big, a big deal to become aware first.
Feelings of crazy. Yes. Yeah.
So I watched one of your videos where you were talking about that up and that down, what you were just speaking about too before. And now I like welcome it. I don't attract it, but when the down comes in my life, we just recently had like a little hiccup with one of our neighbors who I love, with our dogs. So our dogs get loose. And when there was this hiccup that came at us, I just thought to myself, one of the first things I was like, well, yay, like there's an opportunity here. So when we hit the downs, when there's something that comes down, there's an opportunity there. And now I don't look at those downs as, oh, like why me, or victim, or, I'm attracting bad things, or whatever you could be telling yourself in victim mentality. I quickly switched to the responsible mentality, and I'm like, oh, ooh, this is here. And it's here to tell me something. Like, what is it here to tell me? And there was opportunity there. And even in this last one, short story, like to connect, I ended up meeting new friends because of this. We end up renting out our camper again, which we do frequently to people who need it, making us more money. So it just, whenever there is a down, it's that opportunity to connect for something really good. So I love those. Now I look forward to that up and that down and know that it's taking you into a fun new adventure.
Yeah.
It's a really great reminder.
Yeah. Hitting yourself, being able to like accept and understand that it's okay, and another thing with kind of like those valleys too is that a lot of times we like to avoid them because when we're going through life in an unconscious state or when we're unaware of things, when those downs hit us, it's because we've let them build up so much, and we've suppressed them so much, right?
Mm-hmm.
At that point, that's when they're volcanoing out, right?
So true.
Have to go pee, right? Like little kids,
yeah.
Right? It's like they have to go pee, and they're just like, they don't want to stop and like let that know what their body is trying to release, the toxins, right? They're just, I just want to keep playing, right? And then, it's like, eventually it's got to come out.
Yeah. And then they're just running or peeing their pants.
Right? Pants, and it's the same kind of thing with those downs, right? And so we get kind of scared of them, or we push them away because, we're so used to them volcanoing out and then taking us under. And then we them. But each time we become conscious of when things are coming, and we allow ourselves to, like, okay, this is happening. I'm going to let myself go into it. Each time it becomes easier to deal with. And I find also that the duration will be shorter, right? And again, it's ups and downs like this. So it's not like every time it's like, all right, I'm knocking 5 or 10 minutes off of this. Like, no. Right. But generally speaking, you're going to notice that it'll be a little easier because you're like, okay, I'm consciously going to let go of this by allowing myself to feel it, by allowing myself to understand this.
It's here to serve.
Yeah.
It's building a muscle. So when you keep doing it, you keep building that muscle. And it does. Even like this last time, it was so fast that I had created solutions and then created a positive to it, because you just become a master manifester. And I think that's really a lot of what it's about, instead of restricting what is here. And what she's saying, like, I'm sure everybody's heard, first the universe speaks in a whisper, and then it talks, and then it yells. And that's that peeing. All of a sudden, the kids peeing their pants because we haven't listened to the whispers. And I have the whispers even on that situation, and I wasn't listening. So it is. So I want to know, I just love where you are, and you can feel the difference. Like, it would be so curious to step back into those girls that used to hang, and then to see ourselves now. But like, what are some key things that you have done other than what you've mentioned, or what you do on a daily that maybe not everybody does? Like, I love that you use stones. Or is there, certain mantras that you say, or activities that you do that help you to really stay in that highest vibration that you're in?
I'm literally sitting inside of like a crystal garden right now. I'm filling up that I use this for grounding and this for speaking. And,
I love it.
You know what? Noticing the help that you have around you in every situation. That's been a big thing for me lately, is noticing where the universe, spirit, God, whatever you refer to, right? That energy that surrounds you, noticing where you are being afforded help and assistance by that energy. It'll oftentimes, or a lot of times, it'll come in different ways, and different pieces that maybe we didn't understand before, but it helps us to really build that foundation of security within ourselves. And in that, knowing that we don't have to do it all alone. So whether that help comes from other people, from things just like crystals, and also from the unseen as well, from your guides, from your intuition. A huge thing for me has been coming deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper into my intuition.
Yes.
And noticing the little places or strengthen it. Yeah, because that is a huge one. So, and to know that even when I'm going through those kind of like, those deep, dark times, what feels like that dark night of the soul, noticing that I always have the ability to connect, no matter where I am. Okay? And I can always flow through that that passion, that truth of me, and letting go and surrendering.
That's probably really key on why you're able to live alone now. Because you know, no matter where you are, no matter what you're doing, you're supported. That there's this arsenal of education and knowledge that can come to you and be tapped into at any point that you want to, as long as you choose to open up and trust.
Yeah. And you know what? It's a day-to-day journey. You know, so like I am a spiritual healer. I'm an energy healer. And, you know, I have these, you know, different, I don't know, honestly, it's like they feel like powers, right? Like you get it, I still feel, you know, like I'll still feel anxiety. I'll still completely run the gamut of emotions, right? But now I know how to understand them. Or I don't. It's knowing that you have the availability to begin to understand them further.
Right.
To begin to understand where you have been, like, in relation to that as well.
And so in order to practice knowing that you have that support, like what are some things that help you to remind yourself that you have that support? These are my daily dog interruptions, so you're going to walk with me as we're recording. And you can go ahead and talk to me and tell me about what it is, some of those things that you do.
Definitely little grounding techniques, right? So understanding that meditation doesn't have to just be sitting down and being silent for 20, 30 minutes. But that meditation can be as simple as, you know, just a deep breath. So one that I've been doing lately that I learned from my crystal teacher is the 3 breaths to connecting with your higher self. So putting your fingers together like this, putting them right below the heart, right at the solar plexus, focusing at the third eye, and just taking 3 deep breaths and consciously connecting to your higher self. You can also do that with grounding as well. Reconnecting with the breath is definitely huge, because when you kind of like get a little stirred up, because we're humans and we do, allowing yourself to really breathe down into that belly, breathe down this root, and even just taking 1, 2, 3 conscious breaths, it can really change your perception. Also, getting under some water, taking a shower if it's available to you at the time. You know, I work from home a lot, so that really helps me. And then also reaching out. Understanding that it's okay to reach out to others, even if you feel like you're a broken record, right? Or certain issue, or, you know, if you're, if all of a sudden you're missing an ex for like 2 years ago, and you're like, oh my God, what, you know, like, why is this happening? Okay, well, you know, reach out to somebody and think to yourself, right? Because a lot of times we kind of stop. We'll, you know, we'll tell people, like, you know, right? But then we have problems. We'll kind of like go inside of ourselves, and we're like, oh, you know, I don't want to bother them, or I don't want to sound like a broken record, right? Give yourself that option to reach out to somebody, and, you know, allow yourself to kind of plug and connect and like flow out what you need to at that time.
One that really helps me to feel supported is supporting somebody else. So the act of service and like giving and coaching or talking to someone who I love who is in need, I then just actively will feel that feeling myself, or I'll notice it instantly or just within a short period of time. Those acts are reciprocated somehow by the universe. So really for me, faking it till you make it is a favorite quote I have. And that's something that's really helped me to feel supported. And it does, I think, when you're working with, I've been really lucky to have some amazing mentors in my life who are coaches who give me homework and acting on the homework. So if I really want to feel supported, I have to support myself.
Oh, that's a big one.
Mm-hmm.
That's one. I love how you say acting on the homework. Whenever I do healings and just, as a healer, as a coach, you'll notice that even though your journey is completely separate from your clients, that there's always an aspect of your healing reflected within each every single time, right? Every aspect there. And so it's like the homework that you give them, there's also pieces in there for yourself.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? And I'll notice that when people come in, it's kind of like in waves and it'll string together. They're all kind of coming in with the same sort of things. And so what I, quote unquote, prescribe for them to help them to rebalance will wave with that as well. And so then, I get in touch with myself and say, okay, this is the universe telling me, hey, Caryssa, let's do some heart-focused breath meditation. Hey, it would be good for you to take some grounding crystals with you places, right? So
if you're noticing patterns come up in your life, so if like you, the listeners, are noticing that there's some things that are coming up around you, stopping for a minute and looking inward. Why am I seeing this so much? What is this here for? And maybe using, some of those tools that she's talking about to help open that up to hear what it is.
Yeah. And those are the whispers that the universe will give you. If you start noticing things around you, what people are saying, maybe certain situations, you start noticing that they come up more and more often. Even things like numeric patterns around, a little fun with it. Explore it. Maybe take a second to do a conscious stream of writing and say like, okay, I've been seeing this, this, and this, and see what comes up for you when you start writing about it and stringing those things together.
Journaling.
Journaling. Oh my gosh, that's a huge one. If you're going through something or you have something on your mind, waking up and doing like an immediate journal, right? Just a conscious stream of writing. And if you get to a place where you're stuck, take the last word and repeat it over and over and over again until something else comes up. And it's a great way to clear your subconscious in the morning and give you just an open window of clarity with which you can start your day.
Awesome. So she has her own channel that you guys can follow on Instagram, and she's on her Facebook. She's always putting fun videos. What out of, if you can recall in this moment, can you give me like maybe one of the top two or one that you seem to have like the most feedback on, something that really resonated with your followers that you have posted?
Oh, shoot. Honestly, at the top of my head, I don't really know particularly. The way that I do these videos is it's exactly what I'm experiencing, right? Or something that, I am healing, or that, I've just gone through and I get this kind of like download of this like download of an epiphany, right? And then immediately I'm writing it down, and then, sometimes right then I'm just recording the video. So I wouldn't say that there's any one in particular. I will say that on my page, over each one, I have like a few keywords so you can kind of get an idea of, what might resonate with you. And, they're just a minute long. So go ahead and explore and, see what you like. And if you have any questions, feel free to shoot me a DM.
Yay! She's fabulous and wonderful, and I've done sessions with her, and I'm telling you, it's like a few minutes and aha moment after aha moment after aha moment, and it's just a wonderful centering too. When you do the call with her, she's going to center you in, and it's a moment for yourself, so it's really worth it. I know we've talked about crystals. You talked about getting to water. We've talked about knowing that we're supported. Is there any last few things or anything that you think of that you really want to mention that keeps you on a high vibration, that keeps you in alignment with your best self, or anything that you let go of that you weren't really aware of that was holding you back?
Well, first off, I want to talk about how that fan behind your head looks like a halo. Right?
I know. I keep moving. My dogs are barking. The sun's going off. The birds. I'm like, oh man, someday we'll get these YouTubes without all these halos.
I like the halo. I like it.
Oh, good.
Understanding your divinity. That is a big one. Understanding the power of your heart as well. Yeah, and it's like I used to think that was so corny, like, oh, love is the only thing, But honestly, as you get more into this and really understanding the science behind it, there's a huge thing to getting in touch with that. So, for instance, our heart, right, as well as our stomach, has a system of neural pathways over the cardiac muscle. If you're looking, to get some research on this, there's a great research group called HeartMath, and they do a lot of stuff, centering in science with this. But coming back to it, the heart actually sends more messages to the brain than the brain does to the heart. The heart's also interconnected with multiple systems in the body, including the glandular system, which is in charge of emitting our hormones, which are responsible for making us feel blissful or loved and trusting or, stressed out or in that, fight or flight mode, right? So with the heart, paying attention to it on merely a physical level, bring you better relaxations in those systems. So like a way you can do that is literally just heart-focused breathing. So you're just breathing and putting your conscious, focus on the heart. That's all you have to do. And it can reset you in just a minute. And be gentle with yourself and understanding that you are as mighty as you believe yourself to be.
Yes.
And that when opportunities are afforded to you, especially if you've never done them before, worthy of them.
Oh, yes.
Because it came to you. And you quote unquote make a mistake or F up or whatever, who cares? Because you can learn from that. You can learn from that, and all of that is going to build you. So when that meadow of opportunity comes to you, and I talk about this a lot with my clients, is these meadows, right? And a meadow is when you come to a place in your consciousness, and you'll feel it, where you feel things kind of open up. So whether that's, you going in and really feeling those toxic dynamics and becoming aware of them, and then you get to a point where it kind of clears and you're like, okay, now I have a choice of where I want to go. I really felt how this makes me feel. I also see what's available to me in my life, right? So now I'm in this meadow if I want to return back to that toxicity, or if I want to begin to those steps into really realizing and building my life, right? And that's the same thing. When an opportunity comes to you, you have that choice within that meadow, within that opening, to take that opportunity, even though, you know, it makes you nervous, or you're kind of like, oh, is this, you know, you have a choice to take that opportunity or to go in a different direction. So become aware of those meadows, of those openings, and take it for what's available to you.
I'm so glad you mentioned that too, because the reason that I believe I am where I am today is that very moment. I used to live in a town called Lebanon, Oregon, and I've talked about this in some of my other interviews or podcasts that I've done. I used to be really sick and really depressed, and I lived in the top mess city of the state, and just imagine that. It's just a lot of pain and sorrow and scarcity and suffering. And my teacher in college was Vicki Hannah Lynn, who is now my third mom. I follow her everywhere. She's on some of my things that I've put out. The very first question she said to the class was, what would you do if you could do anything? And it didn't matter if you were too thin or too poor or too uneducated. And my whole brain was like, wow, what would I do if I could do anything? And she had later that day mentioned Bali, Indonesia. And this little spark went off inside of me. It was like, I must go there. And that night, I was laying in bed, and the little voice came in my head, which has been telling me what to do since I was little. Little good voice, not a bad voice. And it said, you're going to ask her to go to Bali. And I was like, what? I am not asking a woman I don't know. She's blind. She's a school teacher. And who am I? I'm not worthy. I'm just this Lebanon, Oregon girl who's had all this in my past and history. And the next day, she pulled out a butterfly purse. And I have 3 butterfly tattoos around my body because of what it symbolizes for me, which is to help the world, the butterfly effect, and to be able to change beautifully. That we all come from a worm, and I think the worms are pretty too, but we can morph into anything we want. So when she pulled out this butterfly bag, she said, where's Sara? And she's blind, so she's, you have to move around. She can see in like blurred vision. And I was like, oh my gosh, she's calling on me with a butterfly. And apparently I was the first one to sign up for her outrageousvisions.com newsletter. And so she gifted me this purse from Bali. And that was the moment. That was that meadow. That was that opportunity. And this is a longer story to go into it, but it saved my life. The person I was with at the time was lying to me, and I soon found out after I agreed. I had asked this woman if I could go to Bali with her that day. So I jumped. I didn't wait. I had all these reasons to be scared. I've never been out of the country really at this point. And I came up to her and I said, I got to tell you, I had this feeling you in Bali, have you ever had anybody go with you? She said, no, but I think somebody's about to. And I said, basically, can I go with you? And within 3 days, I had manifested the ticket. My family sponsored my flight, my stay. The job I was at gave me 6 weeks paid vacation. And from the time that I had talked to her to the time I went to Bali, Indonesia, I found out that my partner who I was with was seeing another woman. And within that, it was about 6 weeks of it on its own. I was the lowest I had ever been. And going to Bali changed my life. It saved my life. And it is the reason I now have a nonprofit and a for-profit. So that was my big meadow moment. And knowing that even though I was this who-what's-it girl with a past behind her, I was still worthy. And even though I was classified as disabled at 17 and all these things, I was still worthy. And I took that leap in that meadow. And I jumped. And it really means jumping, letting go of all the fear and leaning into the yes. And you're going to get caught. And it's going to be okay. Mm-hmm. There's that whole other side. So I'm so glad you mentioned that.
Yeah, there's a quote by Yogi Bhajan, who is a Kundalini yogi. And he says, when the time is on you, start and the pressure will be off.
Ooh.
So I know, girl, and that's all the time. Okay, so when the time is on you, when you're that surfer in the ocean, when that wave is coming towards you and you feel it and you're like, you have the option. You can catch the wave.
Ooh.
You can let it go by you.
Ooh.
It will come, believe me, but it's not going to be the same wave. It may be very similar, right? It may take you to the same place, or it may not. But when that wave, it may be later, right? When that wave comes, when the time is on you, start paddling. Yeah. You know, even if you miss that wave, you'll know that you tried. Oh, right? Yeah. Like, even if you get up on it and you're kind of wobbling, you're doing it. A lot of times we don't start things because we're worried that we're not going to do it perfectly.
Oh, yeah. That's a big deal with women, especially perfectionism.
Because it's part of, like, our self-worth. Oh, if I don't put it out, you know, perfect right from the start, then nobody's going to want it. But guess what? Right? When the time is on you, start, and the pressure will be off. Just start anywhere. Anything. Do something. You will be redirected. The universe and your soul are one and are working together to direct you in the place that you need to go.
Yes.
Right? So it's like, if you need to make more money, right? Just start. Notice the opportunities that are right at your feet. Right? See what you gravitate towards, even if it's not what you want to be doing in your full entirety, right? Go with what feels right now. Start. And you're going to start bringing in that energy, and you will be redirected. And you'll be directed down exactly where you need to go and exactly where you need to be.
I love
Take that opportunity. Yeah.
I always say the train. I love how you just talk about it being the wave, but I'm like, the train's going to come. If you don't hop on it, it doesn't mean the train's not going to come back, but it's going to be later. And how much time do we really have? Like, time goes by so fast. And we have to just seize the day and act on it when you get it. And again, might not be the same train. And now it might look different. So we really want it. You'll know, you feel it when you've missed an opportunity. You can feel it when the opportunities are continuously showing and you're continuously not honoring it. You just feel off. That's that depression or low vibration. So you'll know by the feeling. That's what I always, that amazing superpower intuition that we have is that big deal.
But it's also okay if you miss an opportunity.
Right.
You just want to be aware. You just want to be aware that, you know what, that was something that felt right, and I felt that intuition, and I could have done it, but I didn't. Okay. All right. Well, now I know what that intuition feels like. Now I know what that opportunity looks like. And the opportunity is going to change and shift again. So noticing what is around you to help you at every moment, and notice that it may and probably will look different than you expect, right? But the thing is to notice, rather than the physical appearance, notice the feeling. Notice the energy. Notice the connection. Notice how it feels inside of you when these things come up. And then act accordingly.
And you mentioned perfectionism, so I want to touch on that too, because I think it's really huge with women. We have proven in science that we pass down memories. It's passed down in our DNA. And we as women, if we weren't liked, we were burned at the stake. Like, if we weren't liked, we weren't married. If we spoke too much. And at one point in time, they actually had collars for women. So we have gone through, women in general have gone through decades of abuse and trauma. And you better not talk too much, and you better not wear the wrong clothes. You better not reveal too much. Oh, you better make sure you reveal. Like, there's just all these standards to our beauty and our perfectionism, and so much that's ingrained in us that we must be liked. And for me, for a long time, if I like did things of disapproval, I mean, it felt like my whole system was going to shut down. I just had to be loved by everybody. And if I didn't, I wasn't going to survive. That's how it feels. So we have to go against some of our natural instincts in that way, and trust the women uprise that we are becoming more and more and more, that imperfection is who we are. That's what makes us perfect. So wherever you are, like this video and my dog's barking, stuff falling off, my halo's over the head, or, whatever's happening in your story, that is what makes us human and perfect, imperfectly perfect. And I hope we all open to that and honor each other, love our sisters. Collectively, man, we have some superhuman powers. Women are master creators. Look, we give life. We just met babies. No big deal. That's what we women can do. We heal. And so I'm glad that you mentioned perfectionism too.
Yeah. And that's, a big thing too when you talk about like our superpowers, what we can do. Our ability to even understand and mold ourselves to somebody else's idea of perfection is a superpower in and of itself, because that shows our depth of sensitivity to understand somebody else's feelings, to understand somebody else's perspective and viewpoint, right? And at a certain time in our lives, at a certain time in our familial ancestral history, at a certain time just in the collective women consciousness, that was something that we needed to survive. We had to turn our sensitivities in order to mold to somebody else's perspective, and so we could survive and we could, live as abundantly as we could within ourselves, because that's where our value was lying at the time, right? But now we're in a time where we don't need that, right? Again, it's becoming aware of where we're doing that, where that unnecessary, like gravity, where we're weighing it down on ourselves, right? And to let go of that. A lot of times the pendulum's going to swing from one side, all the way to the other. Let that be okay, and also let it be okay to kind of come back into balance and understand that sensitivity with which you feel other people, with which you understand where somebody else is coming from, is a superpower in and of itself. And then you can begin to understand how to use it for your benefit and for the benefit of others, rather than feeling like you need to use it in order to control and protect yourself.
Ooh, that's a big deal. Somebody asked me, Nate, recently, why do women want to be successful? And there's a big part of me personally that it was safety. So safety as women and protecting ourselves and how much we control things, because it just means safety. That's what for me, I was really always wanting to get to that place where I felt safe. I didn't feel safe for a long time. And, I don't know how much of that's passed down. We talk about nature versus nurture, but leaning in and opening that up is really important work. Well, I feel like I could talk to you forever. And I could go into all these things. You were talking about what are we doing underneath those perfectionism habits, and how much it can derail us. I felt like I couldn't go to the store unless I was perfect. So really opening that up in your own life and seeing where those habits might be holding you back, and is it worth it? Of course it's not worth it for mine, but so I love being on this call, and we're at 48 minutes, and 8's my favorite number. So I just want to say thank you so much for doing it with me. And is there anything last word that you want to talk about? Make sure you give us your website again, and any last words that you can think of.
You are enough. And you're worthy. And I know that this is repeated so much lately, especially with the rise of like self-care and the women movement, that it can sound cliche in a way where we kind of like put a wall up against it and we're like, but allow yourself to really feel into that. And when you're feeling down in your life, right? Because even when you go into things consciously that you need to let go of, there's going to be a time in that where you're like, oh man, I feel kind of lost. Am I really doing anything? Yes. In that place, and in any place really in your life, connect with the fact that you are so powerful beyond words, right? You're so powerful that you have the ability to actually change the physical structure of your brain, to activate and deactivate the genetic structure of your DNA.
Yes.
Right? And this
so
is all
amazing.
This is all very scientific stuff, lots of research done on it. Yeah. You have the ability to consciously change the hormonal balance of your glandular system. Yes. Right? And because everything is connected, physical, mental, emotional, energetic, when you're doing this work of really just understanding and becoming yourself and coming into that power of yourself, allow yourself to see how you're truly becoming conscious and changing and settling into the fact that you are the creator of your life. Right? And it's okay to feel whatever you feel at any point, whether you felt like it was good or bad, because the fact that you just let it be there and accept it then gives you the choice to no longer fight what you don't want, but simply say, you know what? That doesn't feel good anymore, and I also have this over here, so I'm going to concentrate on this. Yeah. So my website is www.goldin.love. It's at a .love instead of a .com.org. You can schedule sessions on my website there. I will also give Sara a coupon for 50% off. And my services, if you guys want to book, a lot of them can be done just like this over video calls. So if you're not in the LA area, don't worry. My Instagram is Caryssa.Ramirez. That's Caryssa.Ramirez. Check me out. Give me a follow. If you have questions, let me know. And thank you so much for having this conversation with me, Sara.
Yeah, we definitely have to do more, because I feel like there's just an arsenal of things that we can tap into and chat about. So thank you so much. I will make sure that I add the description in our YouTube for her website. And anything else that she sends to me. And again, you guys can reach out to her and ask her questions. She's just amazing to work with. And I'm due for another session soon, so I should call you. All right. Well, thank you everyone for listening, and we'll call you back soon. Bye.
Bye.